Good morning, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to this week's weekly energy boost. My name is Elisheva, and I am here this morning with David.
Hello.
And we are helping our listeners and helping ourselves wade through the energy of the coming week. The ancient wisdom of Kabbalah is where we get our goods. Where we pore over texts and writings to bring you 50 minutes of the most concise, precise, and effective guidance from the wisdom of Kabbalah for the coming 7 days. This week is one of those weeks that's packed with interesting opportunities, and I'm sure if you've been alive for the last 2 weeks, you've also been feeling a little bit out of sorts and seeing how other people are definitely behaving out of sorts. The wisdom of Kabbalah tells us it's more important this time than ever to look for the light at the end of the tunnel, and that's what we're going to talk about today.
Do we have questions that people have sent in, or people from our feed to talk about the energy of this week, or some challenges that we're going through that we can address first?
We have a email that came in a couple weeks ago that I think is a great way to start off our show this morning. But I also remember
I heard only a little bit of the email that you mentioned to me in the car. Give us the
well,
full
but
version.
you don't want to talk about the month of Leo first?
Oh, you want to talk about the month of Leo
we
first?
We promised at the end of last week's show we're going to talk about the month of Leo.
Okay.
So not that it's not connected, it is connected, but the most important thing, we just began, today is actually the fourth day of the month of Leo. We began the month of Leo last Friday, and we promised we'd talk about it a little bit today. Leo is the most paradoxical of the months of the year according to Kabbalah, because normally as the moon waxes, the energy of the month increases, and as it wanes, the energy of the month decreases.
Waxes is the first 15 days when the moon is increasing in light.
Right, exactly. And the month of Leo is the opposite, that the first 2 weeks are lacking in light, and the second 2 weeks are increasing, are full of light. So we already understand that we have to mitigate our own energy to compensate for that. Leos, I have 2 Leo children who, also our teacher Rav Berg is a Leo. Leos tend to be charismatic, lovable, likable, fun, interesting people to be friends with. They make great leaders. They are the king of the jungle. Right, they enjoy the attention, the energy, and they're good at getting it. Right, it's not like they just run around naked in the streets to get the energy. They tend to be very attractive and attracting in their abilities, their talents, their skills. At the same time, when they're not in the center of attention, that tends to be challenging for them. So every month we share the different tendencies of the sign of the month, because that's who we will tend to be this month.
What's one positive quality that people can look to absorb, and what will be one negative quality that we should be careful of not connecting with in this month?
Well, that's a very good question. I would say
the negative one that came to my mind, which is also tied to our concept, and then maybe you can share the positive one, is the victim consciousness, right? So Leos have the Leo can go into to blame mode, into victim mode, because it's very hard for them to accept that there's a flaw within them. So they immediately reflect that, or
I just don't ever see their flaws. So
you don't. You're always seeing the good.
I only see the good in my children.
You're corrected Pisces. So that is just one thing that comes to mind, because when a person is a victim, or when they feel that they've been wronged, they feel that somebody's hurting them or has hurt them, that is the beginning of a very difficult journey for you, if that's the way we look at things in life. Right. And it doesn't have to be like this dramatic victim mentality. It can just be like a thought that something is not fair. Just a thought, and that thought will manifest in many other ways. And we have the hatred formula, which we wrote out in the car. We'll share that in a moment. What kind of spawns hatred or anger, frustration, which a lot of people are feeling. But it does start with victim consciousness. It starts with feeling that something is not right, which is a lack of certainty. In the light of the Creator, it's a lack of certainty in creation. It's believing that something about creation is not perfect, and that I'm perfect and creation is not perfect, and there's been
an omission.
Yeah. There's been an oversight. There's an oversight in the algorithm of life. So that's the thing. So victim consciousness is a way to harness the energy. Not having victim consciousness, going against it. The buzzwords are fair. Every time you're trying to make things fair, you're going to enter into a world of chaos. Every time you want to get something back from someone that you feel you deserve.
And again, what David is saying is for all of us to look out for, not just for our Leo friends. Our Leo friends might have a magnified experience of this month, but all of us are going to become a little Leo.
Correct. So those are the negative things. The fair, you're looking for something from someone, you're waiting for someone to do something to make your life better. Your happiness is contingent upon
a big
something.
Leo thing to say is, well, what was I supposed to do?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I couldn't, that was the best I could do in that moment. The odds were against me. Everybody else was not playing fair, etc. And they look back on life saying, well, what else? What was I supposed to do?
Yeah, and another thing of victim consciousness, which eventually leads into destruction, is when people say, well, it's not in my hands anymore. You deal with it. You deal with it is another way of not taking responsibility, because people say, it's not my job anymore, or it's not my job, or it's your job. You deal with it. We're all here to work together to create miracles, because there'll be a time in your life where you have chaos, and then you reach out to the universe, you reach out to the Creator, and you don't want to get that answer, which you don't want the Creator to say, well, it's not my job. You deal with it, right? So sometimes we want the mercy of the Creator. It means that we have to be there to show mercy to other people when they need us.
Okay, so for positive, I would say the gift of a great Leo is an inspiration. Mm-hmm. And that's something that, again, can either be very lacking this month, or if it's up to us, we can make it happen. Right. So when you look at the great Leos of history, they have been people that didn't say, it's funny because Leos like being the center of attention, but they prefer to lead a team. And that, I think, is a gift that many of us don't have. When we want to be the center of attention, we want to be the only fiddle playing, whereas the Leo wants to conduct a beautiful orchestra and is really good at bringing out and encouraging greatness in others. Don't be as great as me, but I still want you to be as great as you can be. And I look at the Leos that I've known in my life. I've always had very close Leo friends in my life. And that's one of the things that's great about them. They are encouraging, they are inspiring, they are supportive, they make great friends. They're not the type of person that will leave you in the dust because of some other cool friend or some other great opportunity. They are about inclusion. Mm-hmm. They are about, again, playing on a team. Even though they want to coach the team, they really like being with a team versus being alone.
And we all know that when you overcome the negative aspect of a sign, you automatically connect with the positive side of it. So if a person overcomes victim consciousness, they are a fun person to be around. We do not like being around people who even have thoughts that the world is not perfect, or they even have thoughts that something's not fair. It emits an odor, a spiritual odor that makes people want to stay away from you, right? It's almost like you stepped in the droppings of a dog, and you're walking around with it. Every time you're thinking something's not fair, it's the same stench that emits.
I had a thought last night.
Please.
Now you're just reminding me of it. Thinking about
what I just said reminded you of your thought.
No, really, I don't know how many of you have noticed this, and this is something you could just easily Google. I've been seeing on more mainstream news sources articles like, here's the best, this is your physical weakness according to your birth date.
Okay.
Or this is the best time for you to get married according to your birth date. Okay. Like Time Magazine, for example. Like, I follow them on Twitter, and I'm seeing them posting things like that. And that's really just an educated way of saying, according to astrology, that when you were born predisposes you to certain successes and certain potential pitfalls in your life. And it's just been funny to see how there's a bit of a quiet recognition of the fact that when you are born, it's not the cause, at least according to Kabbalah. And I want to make sure that people who are listening for the first time are clear on that. In Kabbalah, we don't teach that astrology is the cause for, being the great leader or being predisposed to victim consciousness. It's the platform, right? What we learn in Kabbalah is that our soul chooses the exact timing to come into the world according to the work that our soul commits to do. So it's really the soul that says, if I have victim consciousness, the best time for me to be born would be in the month of Leo, so that I can be pre-programmed for that and then overcome it. So we're not choosing it so that it can be our label or our excuse. We're choosing it so that we can be clear on the work that we're here to do in each particular lifetime. So,
all right, let's give people some practical knowledge and wisdom. I have a question here, and then maybe we can go to your email if you want to. Someone on the Kabbalah feed actually put, how can you protect yourself from icon worship? I don't know what icon worship is.
I think it's idol worship.
Well, maybe even icon. How do people who stand in the public light protect themselves from idol worship, being idol worship, right? So there's several questions here, the way I look at it. One, how do you maybe protect yourself from idol worshiping others, right? Because that can be very unhealthy. And how do you protect yourself from being worshipped, right? And I have a very simple answer to this, and you can add to it, Elisheva. Having people be needy of you is a spiritual short circuit. It's a short circuit, because what you're doing is you're taking them away from their destiny, which is their soul's purpose, which is have a direct connection to the light of the Creator. So every time somebody is needy of you, or needs your attention, or needs your love, or needs something to be happy, you are actually facilitating a very dark reality. Now, I know sometimes it might feel good, right? We all like to be liked. It feels good. You may think, well, what's the big deal? I'm doing something positive. I'm helping them, especially if you're disseminating positive energy. The problem is we are actually causing them to be stifled in their potential when they need us. Now, how do you vaccinate yourself against that? How do you prevent to have an audience have appreciation for you, right? We want our audience to appreciate us. If they don't appreciate us, they're not going to listen to our show. If your kids don't appreciate you, they're not going to, follow your lead. But appreciating you is different than needing you, right? We don't want our kids to need our energy. We don't want needy kids. We want appreciative kids.
I actually think there are people out there that want their kids to need them.
Well, yeah, I'm saying I know that there's people who want that, and I'm saying that it's very dangerous.
Right.
It's very dangerous.
And when David says spiritual short circuit, what he means is the same thing with an electrical short circuit. Burst of light, burst of electricity, and then darkness, disconnect.
Right.
So it may feel good for that instantaneous moment that you have that applause, or, person says, I can't live without you. But then the result is darkness.
Yes. So what's the solution to that? And it all has to do with the leader, him or herself. The leader, the person in charge, the person in a position of power, has to internally not want that, because it's all about the energy you put out into the world. If people are becoming needy of you, it's because deep down inside you desire to be needed. And once you start putting out that vibration that says, I don't want to be needed, I want to be a channel of energy for you and for others, but I want you to be your own channel of energy. Meaning, if I wasn't here, you would still be happy. If I wasn't here, you would still be able to continue and succeed. That is an internal consciousness that if you have it, you will go to your next level. And if you're not thinking that way, you will be stifled, because all the needy people around you are holding you down. Right. And deep down inside, all those needy people will eventually hate you. Right? We've seen that a lot. We've seen people who, I'm sure you've had people in your life, whoever's listening, where you had people who respected you, people who followed you, people who loved you and appreciated you. It could have been a friend. It could have been a romantic relationship. It could have been a student. It could have been a mentee, whatever it is. And then at some point, they resent you and they hate you.
Or you might even be able to think back in your own life to people that you needed right? Or that people that you look to for energy, inspiration, information, wisdom, encouragement, etc., and how you felt when you didn't get that support from them, and how, you know, most times that relationship doesn't end well. There is bitterness. And oftentimes, if it doesn't end, it's because they're continuing to perpetuate. It's like they give you a cracker, so you have to come back for another cracker.
Exactly. And this is very subtle, but we all have to catch it. We have to look in our lives where we are dependent on someone else's energy and where we are creating a culture of people becoming dependent on us. And we have to change that energy intelligence, right? Think about also companies. They want their customers to be dependent on their product, because that's good for business.
I can't stand that.
Right? And, and it sounds like what we're saying is to go against good business practice, which is what company is going to say, look, I want you to enjoy my product, but if there's another product out there that's better, you probably should go there and get that product.
Many times you encounter companies, you may subscribe or you become a part of their client base, and they make it very difficult for you to disconnect from that. Right. Like you have to jump.
You can't find where's the cancel button.
Cancel?
Where's the cancel button? And that, you know, this branches out to so many different things, because I've had experience where I'm trying to cancel something and they're making it so hard for me to cancel. I remember to buy, it was like one click.
Call your credit card company and
cancel
tell
the credit card.
Deal with it.
Right. So like sometimes I'll buy a product, just click a button.
Easy, right?
And I remember I wanted to like cancel, I don't know, it was a subscription to one of his magazines or something. I think it was like, I don't want to say it. Matter. So, but I went to cancel, and so when I hit the cancel button, they say to officially cancel, you have to call us between the hours of like 1 hour a day. And then I said, okay, I'll play ball. So I got on the phone with them, and then they're like talking to me, trying to upsell me. And I get why they're doing that. But the point is to create a culture where you're really caring about the customer. That even if a customer says, you know, I found a product that's better than yours, you would actually be happy for them and say, you know what,
and by the
that's
way,
good.
David's saying customer, it could be friend, it could be neighbor, it could be, you know, volunteer, where you volunteer. All of this revolves around that same idea of dependency.
Right.
And if you look at, this is a concept that we go back to again and again and again in our podcasts, in our shows, that, you know, we're here to be like the creator. The creator doesn't ask us to become, right? It's the creator is an empowering force. The creator is constantly empowering us to be the creator.
To be our own creator.
Right. So if you had to come back to the creator to get something, another dose of it, right? The opposite, that the creator wants you to have an independent connection and be the cause of your connection and help others be the cause of their own connection. So you can relate that to business, you can relate that to friendship, you can relate that to anything in your life.
Got a question here. How do you direct your children to appreciate you versus need you?
We had we talked about that a few weeks ago, right?
Just plug it in. It works well with the theme of today. I think when children become needy of the parents, it's because the parents are feeding off of it. And then there's the parents who are totally checked out, who don't want anything to do with the neediness of their children. And you have to find the balance in between. You have to ask yourself, if my child is attached to me, what part of my emptiness and lack am I allowing that to feed? Because there's something on a subconscious level that I like to have filled. I mean, let's say a mom's not getting attention from her husband. She usually tries to take it from the kids. Right, so I've seen this to be a pattern amongst the people I've counseled over the years. So wherever there's a lack, we look to where the energy is easy to get. A husband who doesn't get his attention from his spouse might find it at his job, right, or from another person, or from his friends. So we all have to be careful who we put as our sources of energy, because there's another area of our life that's difficult. You got to go to that area and you got to confront it. You got to confront it. I was speaking to somebody recently, and I said, you know, what percentage of your friends do you think are not faithful? And he said, I only know one. I think 1 of 20 who is faithful. And I said, well, why is that? And he said, you know, they've justified it in their mind, because we talked about the cognitive dissonance. They've justified it in their mind what makes them a better husband. When they come home, what makes them relaxed to come home and be the best they can be, is to be able to have the freedom to do stuff on the side whenever they need that. Now, I'm not here to judge what's right or wrong. What I love about this scenario is that in Kabbalah we learn about the power of recognizing lack and fixing it, not feeding it. So he's saying that some of his friends feel lack. They fix it by, going to whether it's this parlor or that parlor or another woman or another man or whatever it is. And then they don't have lack anymore, but they just kind of band-aid the lack. Spiritually, you're always going to be limited when you think this way and when you do things this way, even though this is the common way in life of coping with pain. But what we're saying is take responsibility for that lack, even though it's not easy. Talk to the Creator. Look for a spiritual solution. Go deep down inside yourself. Even if you need therapy, if you're not using Kabbalah, therapy is good. Take full responsibility why you have the pain you do that makes you go outside of your relationship. And you'll see that there's a lot of miracles waiting for you when you do that. So you're looking at me. I usually jump in at this point. Elisheva's just looking at me.
What I want to do is I want to take us back to our originally scheduled programming.
But this is part of the theme.
I think that once we get into it, you'll hear the connection. David knows the connection already. Those of you who are listening don't necessarily know the connection already. First of all, I want to say that if you know someone, you have a friend, a relative, someone you work with that is struggling with feelings of being victimized, hating someone, blaming someone, giving the impression or subscribing to the story that they can't do anything about what's going on or someone else has wronged them, share the show right now, because we're going to get into how to unravel ourselves from that kind of story. This time period, again, everything that we share on the show, people always write in the comments, "Oh my God, that's exactly what I needed to hear. This is so perfect for what I'm going through right now." It's not a coincidence. The universe conspires to give us these opportunities to rise above, and what we're getting this week is the opportunity to rise above the putting the onus on someone else's existence, or the havoc in our life belongs to somebody else or somebody else's presence in our lives. So we need to, you'll hear through what we're going to share with you, what we put together in the car, how to unravel yourself from the belief, that belief system that someone else made my life what it is today. Right.
So our theme is basically overcoming this victim consciousness as a dependency on outside energy. And this is how we're going to be able to utilize the power of Leo, and also to prevent going into a place of hatred, because that's a theme of this week is hatred. There's an energy of hatred that this week represents. Throughout history, for thousands of years, since the beginning of time, the energy of this week, if not used properly, can lead a person down to anger and hatred. And we're seeing it in the world.
Yeah, we saw it all too clearly this week already. And one of the goals of this show is to at least empower the thousands of listeners that we do have with the mindset, with the tools, with the work this week to turn the energy around.
Right. All right.
So the inspiration we'll use as the springboard, an email that we got a few weeks ago in response to the show we did about Evil Eye, which was a very popular, popular show. And again, if you have questions or you want to add to the conversation, you're more than welcome to write in the comments. I know that many of you are watching or listening now on Facebook, but you can also find our show on iTunes, Spotify, Castbox, Stitcher, Google Play, iHeartRadio. We're even on YouTube now. The idea of sharing the show is that, I think oftentimes it happens to me. I actually sat in a fabulous lecture last week in the center, and as much as I tried to relay it to the people who weren't there, I just kept on tripping on my shoelaces.
Even though it was your husband who gave that fabulous
lecture? No, it was
lecture.
Not my husband, but thank you for plugging him as well.
Okay,
it was
great.
a new moon of Leo at the Kabbalah Center in Los Angeles. I felt it was one of those things where, I was the only one in the room and the other 300 people were just there by coincidence.
Yes.
So
what did this email say?
So this email basically said, "Hi, David and Elisheva. I heard your show on the Evil Eye, and I need help in my particular situation because I don't see how I can stop, feeling badly towards this person." And what's funny is we're getting a comment here very similar. Basically, this person was saying that her ex, she's stuck, quote unquote, at home with the kids, taking care of the kids and the burden of raising her family. Her ex-husband has his, young new girlfriend. They're traveling the world and showing up.
It's never the older girlfriend. It's the younger girlfriend always.
Well, don't get me started. They're traveling the world and he drops by whenever he wants. Disneyland dad, lots of fun with the kids, and then he disappears until he's in the mood again. He has ruined her life. Mm-hmm. He is having the time of his life while she is depressed and angry. Mm-hmm. What other way is there for her to look at this situation?
What do you do with something like that? I'm trying to ask myself, if I was in that situation, which I'm sure if I take a moment to think, I've been in that situation in other ways. But what would you do about that? Well,
to me, and I answered the question, and we're getting somebody asking a very similar question, how the ex-husband is a liar, a cheater, etc.
My ex-husband lied to the judge, right? That's what I'm looking at. During the divorce, the judge only awarded me $1,500 per month, and I was beat up at work and have been out of work for 3 years. How do I use Kabbalah to overcome victim consciousness? So similar concept.
Right. So and again, I'll start. You can take the baton when you're ready. First. I think it starts with the digestion of the spiritual law that no person, no circumstance is able to affect our movie but us. I am not only the actress, the main actress in my movie, I am also the director of my movie, which means that if there is an element in my movie, it is because it is the best thing for me. Mm-hmm. And if I don't like it, I'm the only person who can change it. Mm-hmm. Now, in the case of the let's say the mom / ex-wife who's left at home to take care of the kids, etc. The fact that it looks like, and again, I know what I'm going to say sounds harsh. It looks like, usually David's the harsh one. It looks like there is an ex-husband, and it looks like there is a judge, and it looks like there is a young girlfriend, and all the details are there in the physical. Whatever experience that actress is going through by feeling victimized and by feeling, getting the short end of the stick, by feeling helpless, it would have happened anyway. If not in that circumstance, it would have happened in other circumstances. I often tell, I have younger students, let's say that they're with somebody and the person breaks their heart. I tell them, if he wasn't the one that broke your heart, it would have been someone else. It's the heartbreak that the universe thinks you need to grow or expand or transform in some fabulous and magical way. And unfortunately, on the receiving end, we look like we may feel like there's a boulder that we're stuck under that we can't get out of. Right. But the universe only gives us these scenarios to help us grow and transform and expand and become a better version of ourselves. So that's the first, that's the start point on the game board, is realizing that even though it looks like the ex or the judge or the police department or whoever it is, the IRS, I don't know, you name it, is the reason I'm in X, Y, and Z situation, it is not. I am the reason I am in that situation, and these people are merely actors in my movie. The plot, the details of my movie are driven by what's best for the evolution of my soul. My we call it tikkun. Right, my tikkun is a perfect.
My tikkun, my personal correction in this world.
Right, it's a personalized plan for the evolution of my soul.
And to add to that, I'm trying to think how I would deal with it, and a couple times in my life, it's coming to my mind of where it got what looked like really bad, and I've realized every day when I go through personal challenges, I just hit the reset button and I say, okay, let's restart from here, because here's the problem: that a person who has $100 million, who loses 80 of it and only has 20 left, wants to commit suicide, even though he's got 20, right? Because he's always looking at his life relative to where it was before. He's not, let's say you're divorced and you have Disneyland dad and blah, 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 all those things. Let's say that you had just came out of prison and now you get to be reunited with your kids and you have a Disneyland dad. You actually are very happy, right? You're not a victim. We're always looking at things relative to the way they were the day before. That's the main problem, that we're looking at life, my past, my future, what could be, what was, where am I now, and then we go into a depression. If we think this way, we will always be miserable. We have to slice a piece of life and look at it piece by piece. I look at my life today. Okay, it's got all these challenges, But it's not a bad thing. And I only think it's bad relative to where I was 20 minutes ago. But if I look at where I am relative to maybe 10 years ago, it's an amazing place I am. What I like to do is I say, okay, I'm going to look at my life now and I'm going to just pretend nobody exists. And I'm going to take inventory of my entire life and see what's the way I want to live it that I believe is according to the light of the Creator. And then just hold on to that and move forward. If you have a person, and I talk to so many people about the ex situation, the ex is complicated, the ex is hurting them, the ex is this, the ex is that. And it's true, but we can't keep reacting to these painful scenarios. You have to decide how you want to live your life.
Wait a second. Pause for a second. Why can't we keep reacting? Let's go there, because I think we have a lot of people who are listening that may be sympathetic to what you're saying.
Nothing. It is a total illusion. Nothing good will ever come from giving those things energy. I just even yesterday, I remember there was like this and that, like all this like chaos coming towards me, and I said, I'm not listening to any of it. I'm just going to say, all right, what do I need to do right now to be the light? And even though it looks like you're disconnected from reality, you're actually very connected to reality thinking this way. This mom needs to wake up in the morning and say, okay, how am I going to just live my best life? I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to take care of myself. I'm going to do things that make my mood feel good. I'm going to treat my kids the best I can be treated as a mom.
By the way, if you've ever tried to control your husband or your wife, it is a lot harder to control your ex-husband or your ex-wife.
What's your point?
My point is, it didn't work then. It's not going to work now. Right? That's like trying to shove, I don't know, spaghetti into a threading needle. You know, it's not going to happen. I don't know where that is.
That was good. That was good. I'll take that.
It's hard enough. Think about it. It's hard enough to control yourself. So the question is, how can I control the person that I couldn't control when we were madly in love? It's not going to happen. Put your energy into something that is viable, and it
becomes very evident that you can't control your exes, and the Creator does it that way because the Creator is tired of you trying to micromanage and control your life. You have to surrender. You have to surrender and say, okay, the only thing I have free will over is where's my consciousness and what kind of energy I'm going to put out into the world. And I'm going to keep planting positive seeds every second. But what's going to happen this and what's going to happen that, and how is he going to respond, and when is he going to actually acknowledge it? All of those thoughts, they're all negative thoughts that come from the other side. And all that does is send us back. What we have to do on a daily basis is just do what we're in control of, which is my consciousness, my thoughts, my actions, my words. That's it. And when I make that decision and I just live life that way, and I say, okay, whatever's going to happen tomorrow is going to happen, but it's going to be based on what I do today, that is the only way to live. But I know all of us, myself included, we're all so programmed to live life based on the feedback we get from others. This happened this way, so I need to change, I need to control. It's exhausting and it will never work. It has never worked. I've never seen it work. It's not allowed to work. And sometimes you keep getting these wild card people in your life. So the ex is such a wild card. You never know what's going to come out of his or her mouth next. You never know when they're going to hit you up with more money. You never know when they're going to show up or not show up. I know exes that just show up at the house randomly, want to just be with the kids, don't obey the schedule, don't obey what the judge said, don't obey anything. And the reason why you have that in your life is because the Creator is saying, surrender your micromanaging, controlling nature. And once you surrender that and start controlling the only thing you do have control over, which is your consciousness, have thoughts of happiness, have thoughts of certainty, fight for it, make an effort, be a giver, live the life that you want to live, the rest will work out. The people that get taken advantage of, they've been getting taken advantage of their whole life. It's something inside their nature and their tikkun that just keeps attracting abusers. So if you look at whatever problem you're going through now, it's a problem you've been facing your whole life, which shows that it's not just random and it's not just people out to get you. You have a problem. You have a problem. It's deep down inside, but it's not that your essence is a problem. It's that you have this little tumor, spiritual tumor, and it just needs to be removed. And when it's removed, life changes. Things change, people around you change. The opportunities that come to you change. But you got to find that tumor and take it out. That's the bottom line. That's what I have to say about that situation.
Okay. But now we can see, you look at the story of that woman, and we have other people chiming in as well. It sucks. It does feel like, not only, okay, that's a very, let's say, personal example. Right. You look at the state of the world today, there is so much hatred, victimization, blame, threats, You know, it's like that's the name of the game. People strong-arming, countries strong-arming one another, neighbors strong-arming one another, companies, you know, it's like that's how. Let's go through some simple and practical ways to.
I'll give some examples, and then you give some examples too. And see, for example, I had a time where there was a competitor encroaching upon one of our products in some way, and I thought to myself, all right, what am I going to do here? And then I thought, well, no, just leave it as, just keep doing what you're doing. So if it comes to business or it comes to any other part of your life that has to do with financial, and you're worried about whether people are going to do or say or take something away from you, just keep going on the path. Double down on your intention, double down on your customer service, double down on whatever it is to make it powerful. Number two, we talked about it in the car. I saw a post recently, and it was last week when it was. People just post stuff like their opinion about stuff. All right. So I think somebody recently posted about why can't we all just stop hating each other? Like, that's a post. Like, why can't we all just stop hating each other? That's a stupid post. I'm sorry to say it. I don't mean to be judgmental about the post, but the reason why it's a stupid post is that it's not going to make your life any better to post that. It's not making your life any better, and all you're going to do is awaken other people's opinions, and then people start fighting with each other. And that's really what happened. The thread went on to just people just starting to fight with each other. So all that posted is it created more separation. We should be super conscious that everything we do, say, post, really is just to add value. And someone else told me something interesting. They said the people who are always posting and commenting, again, this is not my opinion. This was his opinion. He's a successful person. He said the reason I don't post so much is because I've seen that the people who do post a lot in this one thread, it's like a group of people, is that they're not spending their time really focused on their business or their life or their relationships, and they're kind of hiding behind social media and trying to get energy from it. As opposed to the people who were very successful, he said, were the people who once in a while would share something because, you know, it was needed, but they didn't have time to waste time. You know, they didn't have the time to try to like put out a statement or put out an opinion, or nobody cares. Go back to doing what you're doing, of revealing light in the world, taking personal responsibility for your life. There's so many areas of our lives that need work and need to be nurtured. I can't imagine where we even get the time to just go out there and start debates. I think that David's point is a powerful one, because there is a lot of our culture, the culture around social media is often, you know, it's a place where people go to vomit. Right.
I just had this meeting, blah, 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 blah. I just watched the news, blah, 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 blah. In therapy, we discussed today, blah, 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 blah. And we've talked countless times about the value of, you know, social media can be a great place. It can also be a place of tremendous destruction. The question is intention. Mm-hmm. It always goes back to that. Why am I posting what I'm posting? Am I trying to provoke a certain person or a certain conversation? And what is it going to lead to, right? So, you know, I see people posting all the time, I just made this amazing chicken recipe. PM me if you want the details. But you can also go into a very, you know, you're sharing the chicken recipe because it was delicious and you want other people to taste, to produce the same chicken recipe. Or are you doing it because you're trying to create a dependency on people coming back to your page to ask you for recipes, right? So again, people use it for business, but going back to that post, I think that a lot of, again, because of what we do end up on social media a lot and sharing things there. But the question always goes back to, what is my intention? And it even goes back to the email, right? You wake up in the morning, all of you with crazy exes. What is your intention? Is your intention to continue to allow the crazy ex to affect you? Or can you create a movie where they can continue to be crazy and it's not affecting you? Even if it affects your expenses of the month, right? You get to decide, and this is something that I'm trying to teach my kids over and over and over again, not just the Leos, all of them. You can choose how something affects you. And the fact that, you know, people often when they're angry are not in control anymore, right? That hatred, when you get to that place of hatred, usually you're not in control anymore.
Right.
You've given your control completely over to the other person, or to the situation, right? We want to do as much as we can, not only in the next week, but in life in general, to dial back the situation to a point where you still get to decide, this doesn't have to ruin my day. This doesn't have to make my life miserable. This doesn't have to make me less present with my children because I'm bitter about what he said or she said or the other thing.
And Kabbalistically, we have this formula, this chaos hatred formula. How does it get to chaos? And it's a very simple one, and we can all kind of look in our own lives and see where it fits. Everything always starts with some trigger of a lack. So based on my correction in this world, I will attract a situation that will make me feel lack. And it can be anything. Something someone says, something that happens, something I just start feeling randomly. I just feel some kind of void inside myself. Every time a person feels a void, their nature is to fill that void. So after lack comes, you start creating a movie in your mind. So I have a lack, something's triggered me, now I'm going to go into a movie. I start thinking about how I'm going to fill this lack. I'm starting to think about how I'm going to control the situation. I'm going to think about what I'm going to say to this person. I'm going to think about how I'm going to fix it. This movie starts to bring up negative emotions and fears, and already we're starting to plant the seeds of chaos, right? As soon as we start creating the movie in our mind and we don't stop that movie, we start creating the chaos. When a person has a movie in their mind, what happens next? They manifest that movie. They act on that movie. They start branching out. So what do? They start picking up the phone. They start calling people. They start saying things. They start posting things. They start doing things based on the movie that's in their mind. So most people, the actions that they do on a daily basis is just a reaction to the reactive thoughts that they're having, the movie they've already created, which is a reaction to the lack that they're feeling. And in no time have they actually stopped this process. Once they're branching out, this is where the manifestation of negativity really comes to play. And that's why sometimes we say something to someone and everyone gets upset. We don't know why. It's because what you're saying is coming from the energy of the thoughts and the negative thoughts that you already created in your mind. Once you start branching out, then it's chaos. Then it's out of your control. You've caused separation. You've caused chaos. And people are upset with you. Situations are not going the way you want. You don't feel like you're in the miracle zone anymore. You don't feel like you're hitting all the green lights. There's problems. So if we want to be in the miracle zone, we have to catch that lack right when it happens and not go into a movie. How many of us right now are having a movie about something that happened and we feel not good about it? So it's controlling our thoughts and it's controlling our emotions and it's just living inside of our brain.
By the way, you may be like, I don't understand what David is saying right now, but I bet if you shrink what David is saying down, right? Like not everybody has this burning, flaming movie going on in their lives right now. But if you rewind your film reel back to the past, to a time where you felt abused, wronged, victimized, you definitely have all the reason in the world to blame someone else, some other situation, and you watch the movie play out now. Right? It may have happened 10 years ago, but you're still saying, well, because of so-and-so, I didn't get paid what I was supposed to. Right. Or because of so-and-so, I was treated like a second-class citizen. This is the week to go back and rewrite the script. Imagine if you didn't blame them. Imagine if you didn't give them the power to have made you feel this way or that. How different would your life look today? That to me is inspiring. And that's something that you can do at any given moment. We're going to learn next month how even more powerful meditations on how to rewrite the movie. But this week, it's the week, the month of Leo is the week to take back all of the energy we put toward blaming, hating, feeling victimized in any way, shape, or form.
What you just said brought up something so powerful in my mind is that maybe even before we started studying Kabbalah, which, in our teenage years, or I think even earlier for you, maybe stuff happened to me that was painful that started a movie. And I just now this movie's still playing in the background.
And it still defines part of who you are.
Totally. It's still playing in the background. It's very light noise, right? I don't hear it. But it's very subtle. It's in the very, very, very...
And every so often someone comes and pokes it.
And we don't know. We get upset because I hear this in our meetings. I have people that says, you know what, I remember 8 years ago when this and that happened. So they started the process of the movie. They never healed it. They never put light in it. And so as a result, they're always like Tourette's. They're just saying stuff reactively, and they don't even know why they're saying it during the day. And they're branching out, and they're hurting other people, not knowing why. So this is the week, as Elisheva said. The light is so powerful that something practical we can all do is go to a movie that is running in the background. It can be something from recent times, or it can be something from the very past. Maybe you were hurt in high school, right? Somebody really
who
just...
wasn't hurt in high school?
Who wasn't hurt
Let's
in
have
high
a
school?
show about that.
I'm actually thinking about all the times I was hurt or rejected in high school, and I probably have movies playing in the background, right?
Totally.
And what do you got to do? It's very simple. You just have to put the light there and say, you know what, I bless this situation. I'm trying to think of a good mantra.
You can ask, how has this been a part of making me a better person? And if you can't answer the question is then, how can it be a part of making me a better person?
You have to just inject something good into the situation, because every time you feel lack and you pause and you say, this is exactly what I need for my growth, you're done. You won't create the movie anymore. You won't branch out anymore. You've actually healed the lack. The creator will then come in and fix it. So it is that simple. Any area of our lives where we feel there's a movie running in the background, and if you want to know where you have a movie, look at your life today and say, well, which part of my life today is not where I want it to be? It's probably because I have like 1,000 movies running, and all these movies are just contributing to me having reactive thoughts, emotions, and feelings that I'm probably not even aware of. We got to go back and heal those movies and send energy, send light there, and say, you know what, it was good. It was good. Even if your body's fighting it, just keep sending light and energy there. And eventually what will happen is you'll go to your next level. You'll have fixed that lack, and then you can move on to something more beautiful.
And David, you said something a second ago that I think is, we don't often talk about it, but I do think it's very powerful. You know, there's this whole movement around mindfulness, right? A lot of times we're like going through our day at 60 miles an hour, and something comes up and we just look at it in the rearview mirror and we let it go past us.
Right.
This is a great week to slow down the movie and pay attention to what is coming up for us.
Right.
When someone does accidentally poke us, and I don't know if it ever happens to other people, but sometimes I'm suddenly in a bad mood, or I'm in a funk and I can't remember why. And it's because I skimmed over something in social media that was irritating, or
it'll just start creating a movie in my mind.
But it's a mindless.
Yeah.
It's a mindless movie.
Right.
I can't even remember what I got upset about in the first place.
Right.
And to slow things down, because many times it is a bodily thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're ignoring your 80 inches. You're racing towards something you've got. I mean,
80 inches is the aura of energy.
Right, like my personal space is that 80 inches.
Yeah.
So this is a week that it would be really powerful for us to, half speed. Try and go everything at half speed, and pay attention to your reactions and the stories you tell yourself, and the movies that it's 30 seconds, but it drains you. Be present and watch how powerful it is to stop the avalanche before it starts.
I love that.
We have about 60 seconds left. How do you want to end?
That is great. I think that's the best advice so far, that we all have areas in our life that need healing. This is the week to do it. If we don't heal, we're going to have anger. We're going to have depression. We're going to have sadness. It's going to pop up somewhere at some time. The best thing this week to do is just go half speed. Slow everything down. If people around you are reactive and going fast and going crazy, you just slow down. Just be in charge of your own consciousness. And that's the best way to bring the light in. And that's how you finish the race faster than everybody else, is by slowing down.
I love it. Again, you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Play, CastBox, Stitcher, and now YouTube. The time and place to meet us is here live every Monday morning at 10 a.m. Pacific. Weekly Energy Boost. David, thank you so much. Thank you to all the people who commented and posted. We're going to continue to answer your questions throughout the week. And again, if you got even a piece of bubble gum from what we talked about today, share that bubble gum with others.
Thank you.
Thank you.